Picture this. You're a crew member on a research vessel, cutting through the frigid waters of the Southern Ocean near Antarctica. It's another routine day until someone spots something fucking massive breaking the surface in the distance. At first glance, it looks like a submarine, but as your ship gets closer, reality hits you like a fart during doggy style. This thing isn't made of metal. It's alive. The crew scrambles to get a better look, describing what they're seeing as massive, smooth, and pale white, big enough to rival a blue whale. But here's where shit gets really unsettling. This creature has human-like features, arms, hands, and even what appears to be a face staring back at them from the icy depths. Before anyone can grab a camera, the creature vanishes into the ocean's abyss, leaving the crew saying, "What the fuck was that?" This wasn't an isolated incident either. Reports like this have been emerging from the remote, unmonitored Southern Ocean for decades. An environment so vast and unexplored that it's the perfect hiding place for something weird. The lack of clear footage, the mysterious disappearances of evidence, and the whispers of government suppression all point to one terrifying possibility. We're not alone in these waters, and someone doesn't want us to know about it. What's up, y'all? I'm Uncle Perry, and we're fixing to dive headfirst into one of the most chilling cryptid legends to emerge from the internet age, the Ningen. Now, if you've never heard of this monster before, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about what's lurking beneath the surface of our oceans. The story of the Ningen didn't start in some dusty old folklore book or ancient maritime legend. Hell no! This modern phenomenon began in the digital age, specifically on Japan's notorious 2-channel forum between 2002 and 2007. This wasn't your typical internet hoax or creepypasta either. These were straight-up serious claims coming from whale research crews who were out there doing legitimate scientific work in some of the most remote waters on Earth. These Japanese whaling fleet workers started reporting encounters with what they described as human-shaped objects in the frigid Antarctic waters. Think about that shit for a second. Trained professionals whose job it is to identify marine life were seeing something so fucked up, so outside their realm of experience that they couldn't classify it as anything other than a humanoid shape moving through the ocean. The legend really exploded into global consciousness in April 2007 when MU Magazine, Japan's premier publication for unexplained phenomena, featured the Ningen story alongside satellite imagery from Google Earth showing a massive, pale creature off the coast of Namibia. Suddenly, this wasn't just whispered rumors from isolated research vessels anymore. Now there was photographic evidence, and the world took notice. What makes the Ningen particularly fascinating is how it represents this perfect storm of modern elements: internet culture, whaling politics, and Antarctic mystery, all smushed together to create a cryptid legend that feels uniquely suited to our digital age. This isn't some creature passed down through generations of oral tradition over a campfire. This is a modern monster born from the intersection of technology, exploration, and the huge-ass unknown spaces that still exist on our planet. So let's check out exactly what these crews saw out there in the endless wide expanse of the Southern Ocean. Now, here's where shit gets really interesting and, frankly, a little disturbing. While the Ningen burst into global consciousness through internet forums in the 2000s, the truth is that encounters with massive-ass humanoid sea creatures in Antarctic waters have been whispered about for much longer than most people realize. The modern legend may have crystallized online, but the foundation was already there, buried in the testimonies of whale research crews and maritime workers who'd been seeing something unfucking normal in those remote waters. So, what exactly are we dealing with here? According to the accumulated reports and eyewitness accounts, the Ningen is described as an absolutely fucking massive creature, measuring anywhere from 65 to 100 feet in length. To put that in perspective, we're talking about something that rivals the largest blue whales on the planet. But here's where it gets truly chilling. This thing is ghostly pale, almost translucent white, with distinctively humanoid facial features and what witnesses describe as blubbery, flesh-like limbs. The name itself tells you everything you need to know about how disturbing these encounters are. Ningen means human in Japanese. Think about that shit for a minute. Experienced sailors and researchers, people who've spent their entire fucking lives on the ocean identifying marine life, were so struck by this creature's human-like appearance that they named it after our own species. That's not the kind of shit you just make up for the pure hell of it. But the physical descriptions get even more bizarre, depending on who you ask. Some eyewitness accounts describe the Ningen as having a flat, mermaid-like tail that propels it through the water with surprising grace for something so goddamn massive. Other reports paint a completely different picture, saying the creature has multiple tentacle-like appendages extending from its body, almost like some nightmarish fusion of human and octopus. Picture Ursula after a fat ripper from a water bomb. The variation in these descriptions could suggest we're dealing with either different species or different stages of development. Maybe witnesses are just struggling to process shit so far outside normal experience that their brains can't quite make sense of what the hell they're seeing. What really sets the Ningen apart from other cryptids is its supernatural abilities. Oh fuck yeah. We're not just talking about a big, weird-ass looking sea creature here. Legends suggest this creature can actually influence the ocean itself, generating massive waves seemingly out of nowhere, summoning storms or calming rough seas at will. It's as if the bastard has some kind of dominion over the aquatic realm, asserting control over its environment in ways that defy our understanding of marine biology. But here's what's particularly interesting from a behavioral standpoint. Despite its enormous size and supernatural abilities, there have been no reports of the Ningen displaying any aggression toward humans. Never. Every documented encounter describes the creature as passive, almost curious, but ultimately non-threatening. It surfaces, observes, and then disappears back into the depths without any hostile behavior. That kind of restraint from something so fucking powerful suggests a level of intelligence that's actually pretty creepy. From an evolutionary perspective, the Ningen's characteristics make a hell of a lot of sense for a creature adapted to Antarctic waters. Its primarily white coloration isn't just coincidence. It's perfect camouflage for an environment dominated by ice, snow, and pale underwater lighting. A creature this color could move virtually undetected through its natural habitat, surfacing and submerging without being spotted. Unless someone happened to be looking at exactly the right place at the right moment. The aquatic adaptations go even deeper than camouflage. Given the nature of the reported sightings, creatures appearing and disappearing with no warning, it's clear the Ningen possesses an extraordinary ability to hold its breath and survive extended periods underwater. We're talking about something that can remain submerged for hours, possibly days, before needing to surface. That kind of respiratory control suggests biological adaptations way fucking beyond what we see in known marine animals. What makes the Ningen particularly credible is the consistency of reports across different time periods and different crews. These aren't bullshit random internet stories. They're coming from professional maritime workers, whale researchers, and experienced sailors who know the fucking difference between a whale, an iceberg, and something that shouldn't exist. When multiple independent sources describe the same impossible creature in the same remote location, you have to start asking yourself, what are the odds that they're all lying or mistaken? The Southern Ocean keeps its secrets well, but the Ningen might be the biggest secret of all. But what folks are witnessing brings it all to light. Let's dive into the actual encounters that have people convinced massive and unexplained weirdness is lurking in those icy Antarctic waters. These aren't just random-ass internet stories we're dealing with here. These are documented incidents that make you question what's really flopping around down there. Giggity. The whole modern Ningen phenomenon kicked off with an incident that happened back in 2002, though the world didn't hear about it until 2007. A crew aboard a Japanese research vessel was doing their thing near Antarctica when they spotted something that stopped them cold. Check this shit out. You're scanning the horizon and suddenly there's this pale submarine-like shape cutting through the water. However, submarines don't move like it's moving, and they sure as hell don't have the organic flowing motion these guys described. Now, instead of just watching from a safe distance, this crew decided to get a closer look. They approached the object, probably thinking they'd stumbled onto some kind of unknown debris or maybe even a submarine in distress. But the moment they got close enough to really see what they were dealing with, the thing submerged and vanished into the depths. Just like that. Bloop. Leaving the crew with nothing but their testimony and a story that would haunt maritime forums for years to come. Fast forward to 2005, and things got even more fucked. Underwater footage surfaced online showing what appeared to be a large humanoid shape moving beneath the ice. The video was grainy, brief, and showed just enough to make your skin crawl before cutting off. But here's where it gets sus. The footage was online for maybe a week before it mysteriously disappeared. Scrubbed clean from every goddamn platform it had been posted on. Makes you wonder, who wanted that evidence gone? The sightings didn't stop there. Throughout the late 2000s, multiple fishing vessels reported encounters with massive pale objects that didn't match any known marine life. These weren't your typical whale sightings. We're talking about things described as having distinctly human-like features, including what witnesses swore looked like arms and hands. One particularly chilling account came from a commercial fishing operation that saw one of these fucking things break the surface near their nets, showing what appeared to be a humanoid torso before diving back down. But perhaps the most compelling evidence came from satellite imagery that started circulating around 2009. These images, captured by Google Earth, showed large, pale shapes beneath the Antarctic ice that didn't match any known geological formations. The shapes were fucking massive. We're talking about 80 to 100 feet in length and had an unmistakably organic appearance. Of course, these images were quickly poo-pooed as ice formations or digital artifacts. But anyone with eyes and 2 working brain cells could tell there was a hell of a lot more going on. The most recent documented sighting happened in 2012 when a research team studying climate change in the Antarctic reported an encounter that left them creeped the fuck out. They described seeing a massive, pale figure moving beneath their research vessel, visible through the clear ice. The creature appeared to be observing them, remaining stationary for several minutes before slowly disappearing into the deeper waters. What made this sighting particularly credible was that it came from multiple witnesses. Scientists who had everything to lose by reporting something so outlandish. These sightings paint a fucked up picture of something that's been lurking in Antarctic waters for decades. Something that seems to actively avoid human contact while occasionally making its presence known. The question isn't whether these encounters happened. It's what the hell did these people see down there below the ice? Now, let's dig into what people think these fuckers actually are. And let me tell you, the explanations range from the boringly mundane to the absolutely mind-blowing. We've got 2 camps here. The skeptics who want to explain everything away with conventional science, and the believers who feel we're dealing with shit that challenges everything we know about life on this planet. Let's start with the party poopers, the skeptics. Their first line of defense? Good old-fashioned misidentification. They claim these experienced maritime crews are just seeing regular marine life under unusual conditions. We're talking about whales, sharks, and giant squids whose appearances get distorted by the icy Antarctic waters and poor visibility. Because apparently, professional sailors who've spent fucking decades at sea suddenly can't tell the goddamn difference between a humpback whale and a 60-foot humanoid creature. Oh, okay. Here's where things get interesting though. Some researchers have proposed that we might be looking at an evolutionary descendant of an ancient aquatic sloth. These prehistoric creatures were semi-aquatic and lived along the coasts of South America millions of years ago. The theory suggests that a population could have survived and evolved in the isolated Antarctic waters, growing to massive-ass proportions over time. It's actually not as fucking crazy as it sounds when you consider how evolution works in isolated environments. Then, there's the iceberg theory, which is easily the most insulting to the intelligence of the marine biologists and the engineers that witnessed it. Skeptics claim that oddly shaped icebergs, combined with poor lighting conditions and the human tendency to see patterns where none exist, could create the illusion of massive humanoid creatures. Because trained maritime professionals apparently can't tell the damn difference between floating ice and a living, breathing creature that actively submerges when approached. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Some scientists have suggested we might be dealing with an undiscovered subspecies of beluga whale, one that's grown to enormous proportions in the nutrient-rich Antarctic waters. The pale coloration matches, and belugas are known for their curious nature around ships. But again, this doesn't explain the consistently reported humanoid features or the intelligent behavior patterns. Don't get me wrong, beluga whales are cool as fuck, fairly intelligent, and they look like they're smiling all the time. But they don't have a humanoid appearance, and definitely don't have blubbery arms. Of course, we can't forget about photo manipulation. Jesus Christ. I think skeptics get a hard-on when they dismiss any visual evidence as digital fakery. And by 2007, they do have a point. Photoshop was already the industry standard for photo editing. But here's the thing. Dismissing every piece of visual evidence as photoshopped is just a lazy cop-out. Besides, the question isn't whether manipulation was possible. It's whether each specific piece of evidence shows signs of tampering. And that hasn't been proven on any of the pictures. Now, let's get to the good stuff. What the believers think we're really dealing with. And trust me, these theories will fuck with your head. The most compelling theory? We're looking at an evolutionary relative of humans. No shit. Think about it. If early hominids were able to adapt to terrestrial environments, why couldn't a branch of our evolutionary tree have adopted to aquatic life? Over millions of years, isolated populations could have evolved to massive proportions, developing the physical characteristics necessary for deep water survival. Their size could have changed dramatically as a result of natural selection, just like we see with island gigantism in other species. Some of the most compelling theories suggest the Ningen might represent an undiscovered species of aquatic ape, something that took a completely different evolutionary path from its terrestrial ancestors. Think about that shit. While our primate ancestors were developing tools and language on land, another branch of the family tree was adapting to life in the ocean's depths. The result would be a creature with human-like intelligence and features, but perfectly adapted for underwater survival. The completely white, underwater-dwelling nature of these beings supports this theory. An aquatic ape that developed the ability to breathe in the depths of the sea, or at least hold its breath for impossibly long periods, would represent one of the most significant evolutionary discoveries in human history. Some believers propose we're dealing with a species that evolved from large marine predators like leopard seals or killer whales. Through convergent evolution, where unrelated species develop similar characteristics, these creatures could have developed humanoid features that help them navigate their environment more effectively. It's not unprecedented. We see convergent evolution throughout the natural world. One of the more compelling theories involves a recently discovered prehistoric shark species that had a wide, manta-like body and long, wing-like fins. Some speculate that descendants of similar creatures could have survived in isolated ocean environments, slowly evolving into something stranger, something more human. It's a wild idea, sure, but it makes more sense of the weird, quasi-humanoid descriptions that keep popping up in Ningen sightings. In that context, those long arms and that pale, staring face don't seem quite so impossible. The fact that it's remained hidden for so long only speaks to how goddamn vast and unexplored our oceans really are. Scientists estimate that over 80% of the Earth's oceans remain unexplored, unmapped, and unobserved, and that 66% of all marine species have yet to be discovered. Some researchers speculate that governments and scientific organizations actively suppress information about these encounters to avoid controversy or panic in the shipping industry. Think about that shit. If word got out that there were massive, fucked up looking creatures in the Antarctic waters, it could seriously impact commercial shipping routes and research operations. The most logical explanation is that someone just doesn't want us to know the truth. A lot of folks think the whole walking on land version of the Ningen is actually government disinformation. They argue it's a deliberate distraction designed to make the entire phenomenon seem ridiculous, effectively covering up the real aquatic encounters. It's the perfect cover-up strategy. Flood the field with absurd claims to discredit the legitimate ones. The truth is, we're dealing with something that doesn't fit neatly into our current understanding of marine biology. Whether it's a new species, an evolutionary throwback, or something else entirely, the Ningen represents a gap in our knowledge that's both fascinating and terrifying. So here we are, at the end of another deep dive into the unexplained, and honestly, the Ningen might be one of the most compelling mysteries I've covered on this channel. Think about it. Antarctica is Earth's final frontier. We've mapped every damn street corner, cataloged every damn shopping mall, and down there in those icy waters, we barely know what the hell is swimming around. Antarctica represents the last truly wild place on our planet. A continent where ecosystems exist in complete isolation from the rest of the world. If there's anywhere on Earth where something like the Ningen could be hiding, it's without a fucking doubt in those frigid depths where no human has any business being. We're talking about an environment so extreme, so cut off from everything else, that evolution could have taken some seriously wild-ass turns down there. What makes the Ningen so fascinating is how it blurs every line we try to draw. Is it cryptozoology? Folklore? A government conspiracy? Maybe it's all three, rolled into one massive-ass pale white package. The fucking thing hints at the possibility that life in extreme environments might be way more diverse and bizarre than we ever imagined. And let's be real, we keep discovering new species in the most unlikely places all the goddamn time. Here's what really gets me thinking. We've found life thriving around deep-sea volcanic vents where the water is hot enough to cook anything alive. We've discovered creatures in Arctic regions that shouldn't be able to survive those temperatures. So why the hell would we exclude the Southern Ocean from having its own brand of impossible life forms? The logic just doesn't add up. And here's the part that sticks with me like a rebound hookup with your sister after 5 Jaeger bombs. Over the last 20 years, scientists have discovered hundreds, maybe even thousands, of new marine species in the waters surrounding Antarctica. Some expeditions found that nearly 90% of what they pulled up had never been fucking seen before. Entire ecosystems hidden beneath the ice. Shit, the ocean census alone has added over 800 new species since 2023, and many of them came from the Southern Ocean. So if you're wondering whether something like the Ningen could really exist, well, You're not wrong to wonder. It already surfaced. We just weren't ready to see it. If you like your cryptids frozen on a stick, tap that like button and subscribe. That way you won't miss out on more of my fucked up commentary. And besides, I really do appreciate it. The Ningen is one trippy looking fucker. What do you think it is? Government cover-up? Cryptid? Or folks just seeing weird shit? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're ready to go all in, that join button's got your name on it. For just $2.99, you can have my back in a huge way. Until next time, you all keep it real, keep it chill, and stay creepy! Catch you on the flip. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. You are the real beast.